Have you ever noticed that sometimes, the act of being nice is not a sign of kindness, but a trigger? A pressure? A heaviness you can't explain? Have you wondered why something as simple as holding a door, greeting someone, or offering help can suddenly make you feel invisible, drained, or resentful? Today, we dive deep into this very human experience through the lens of Carl Jung, who reminds us that what we call being nice is often a mask, a defense, a learned role, and sometimes the very thing that separates us from our true self. In a world filled with expectations, social pressure, and collective conditioning, niceness becomes more than behavior. It becomes an identity. And for many people, especially those on a self-awareness or healing journey, this identity starts to crack. When that happens, it exposes something deeper, the shadow, the wounded child, the complex that shaped your entire way of relating to the world. Niceness, in its pure form, is beautiful. It is empathy, softness, care, and respect. But the version society trains us to perform is not real kindness. It is compliance, adaptation, survival. Many people learn from childhood that being good, polite, acceptable, agreeable, or quiet is the only way to avoid conflict, rejection, or shame. This is the beginning of what Jung calls the persona, the mask we present to the world. The persona is not inherently bad. Every one of us needs one to interact with society. But when the persona becomes too tight, too rigid, or too separate from who we truly are, it becomes a prison. And every prison eventually becomes a trigger. For people who grew up walking on emotional eggshells, around critical parents, emotionally distant caregivers, unstable households, or unpredictable authority figures, niceness was not a choice. It was a survival strategy. It could mean safety, approval, less punishment, or more acceptance. But now, as adults, this same niceness becomes exhausting. It feels like a weight you can't carry anymore. Because your psyche is changing. You are growing. You are individuating, the Jungian term for becoming whole, becoming your authentic self, becoming the person you were meant to be. And you cannot become whole if the only version of you that exists is the mask. One of the reasons being nice triggers you is because it activates the memory, conscious or unconscious, of all the times you were expected to give more than you received. To smile when nobody smiled back. To offer warmth and get coldness in return. To open doors for people who didn't acknowledge your existence. To hold emotional space for people who never cared how you felt. This is how complexes are formed. A complex is a cluster of emotionally charged memories and reactions stored in the unconscious. When you have a niceness complex, it means you carry unprocessed resentment, exhaustion, or sadness from playing the role of the giver, the good one, the polite one, the responsible one. And today, whenever a small situation mimics an old memory, the complex activates. You feel anger, or heaviness, or emotional withdrawal, not because of the present moment, but because your psyche is saying, I cannot do this anymore. Niceness becomes a trigger when your soul is tired of being unseen. It becomes a trigger when your self-worth is no longer tied to being liked. It becomes a trigger when your boundaries are waking up. Jung teaches that we must integrate the shadow, the parts of us we were taught to hide. Your shadow might include assertiveness, strength, voice, anger, truth, self-protection, honesty, or the simple right to say no. For years, society may have taught you to suppress these traits because they were considered unladylike, too much, aggressive, uncooperative, or selfish. But in Jungian psychology, the shadow is not evil. It is energy. It is your unlived life. And every time you are nice in a way that betrays yourself, that shadow rises in discomfort. That discomfort is not a flaw. It is a message. Imagine walking into a social environment where everyone expects friendliness, small talk, politeness, and giving energy. Yet your internal state is quiet, tired, or simply uninterested in performing. You greet someone with warmth, they ignore you, and yet you still feel compelled to hold the door, smile politely, or give more than you feel. Situations like this create inner conflict. One part of you is still operating from the old programming. The other part is awakening and saying, I do not want to do this anymore. This is the beginning of liberation. It is uncomfortable and confusing. You might wonder why things bother you now when you tolerated them for years. The answer is that your consciousness is growing. Jung says that when the self, the deepest part of you, starts to awaken, the old identity can no longer hold. And when you step into environments where your old persona was once required, you feel the friction between who you used to be and who you are becoming. Here is your engagement moment. Write in the comments, do you feel like being nice has become draining? Do you feel like the old ways of relating no longer fit? Your words may help someone else feel less alone. Many people who struggle with niceness as a trigger carry something Jung called the mother complex. Even if your mother was loving, you may have received mixed messages like, be polite, be quiet, don't cause trouble, be the good girl, be useful, don't upset anyone. These messages teach you to betray your own needs. So now, as an adult, situations that require forced politeness activate that old wound. The wound that says you must earn love. The wound that says your worth depends on being agreeable. Another root is emotional neglect. Growing up with emotionally unavailable caregivers teaches you that your feelings do not matter. So you learn to prioritize the feelings of others. This becomes automatic. But now, during individuation, the pattern feels suffocating. You begin realizing that your needs matter, your emotions matter, and your boundaries matter. And when society expects the mask again, you feel the tension between your new truth and your old programming. Let's also look at collective influence. Society has a silent rulebook: be gentle, be accommodating, smile, be pleasant, be helpful, do not confront. Jung would say these collective expectations are archetypal, ancient patterns passed through culture and family. But when the collective expectation conflicts with your true self, it creates stress. Today many people are awakening, breaking generational patterns, and refusing to carry outdated roles. That's why so many feel this shift. I don't want to be nice anymore if nice means self-betrayal. When niceness becomes exhausting, it is a sign that yourself is asking for authenticity. Kindness from the heart instead of conditioning. Boundaries instead of compliance. Presence instead of performance. You no longer want to give to people who do not see you. You no longer want to adjust yourself for environments that drain you. This is not coldness. This is awakening. Another Jungian layer is projection. You may project the expectation of niceness onto yourself because others projected it onto you for years. You may believe people need you to always be polite, available, helpful, and warm. But much of that expectation was never real. It was a psychological echo. A habit. A learned identity. And when you stop feeding it, the illusion dissolves. Here's another engagement moment. What is one situation where your niceness felt like a burden? What moment made you realize you no longer want to perform kindness at the cost of your peace? Sharing this helps others reflect too. As we approach the end, remember, the goal is not to become rude or disconnected. The goal is wholeness. To integrate both sides of yourself, the genuine kindness that comes from the heart and the protective strength that comes from the shadow. When these unite, you become balanced. You learn to give without overgiving, to help without losing yourself, and to say yes without betraying your inner no. When your niceness is no longer rooted in fear, obligation, or conditioning, it becomes powerful and pure. You attract people who match your energy. You stop chasing approval. You begin to feel at home within yourself. This is individuation, psychological freedom. If you feel seen or understood while listening to this, know that this is a sign from your psyche. You are changing. You are not losing your social skills, you are shedding conditioning. You are not becoming distant, you are becoming aligned. You are not becoming cold, you are becoming conscious. Before we close, here is one last engagement question. What part of your old self are you ready to release? The need to be liked, the need to be polite, the need to be available, or the need to be perfect? Your answer may inspire someone else to let go too. If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe to our channel for more Jungian insights. Share this video with someone who needs it. And check out our other video, The Psychology of Silence. It will help you understand why silence becomes powerful, protective, and healing during awakening. Thank you for being here, and happy awakening.